My name is Joe Piazza, and I'm with Lon Pinnell here in Los Gatos. I'm a family therapist. I am a financial advisor, but being serious is I work with mostly high-end real estate. Most of my transactions average in the $1.8 to $2.2 million price range on an annual basis, and working on both the listing side of working with buyers, trying to do everything I possibly can to market that home properly and provide as much internet exposure and the best graphics and the best flyers that you can provide in the real estate industry, and then obviously the best negotiation experience. And the same thing goes on the buying side, and being able to provide a significant amount of analytics to back it up, to back up the marketing, to understand exactly where a home should be priced, to really be able to build rapport with both buyers and sellers, to make it a win-win situation for my clients depending on which side of the transaction they're at. In general, when I've been working on the listing side of the transaction, I've been at about close to 99% of the original list price is what my selling clients have achieved. And then when I'm working with the buyer side clients, they've been on average experiencing about 89 to 90% of the original list price. So depending on what side of the negotiation I'm on, sort of tells you what my clients are actually experiencing in terms of having a very positive outcome. I first got involved with real estate 12 years ago. And before I invested in PropertyMinder, I studied your competition, and I studied what agents are using, how are they using it to their advantage. And I am just so thankful that I used PropertyMinder over 12 years ago when I first started in this business, because I felt it was the most dynamic tool that there possibly is. I can tell you in all sincerity that doing this interview is very easy when Charles asked me about it, because I attribute a lot of my success to PropertyMinder. And so when I first came on board, I looked at who was the best, and I immediately set up a pretty significant network and database on that. And now I'm actively working with about 2,000 to 3,000 people on a regular basis on PropertyMinder, and it's significant. So PropertyMinder has had a big impact in my business, and my business continues to grow at about 12 to 14% a year. I just like the fact of the graphic layout. I like the speed of it. I like when I can be able to be sitting in an open house and be able to talk to a nice guy like yourself and listen to what your needs are as a potential buyer or seller. And immediately I can pull out my Apple computer, log on to my PropertyMinder, assess the needs of my clients, and then put a meaningful search that is based upon me interviewing you, listening to what you and your family's needs are, school locations, size of the home, characteristics of the home, pool, no pool, 4-car garage, 2-car garage. I mean, all kinds of things that you can be able to manipulate and to put in the PropertyMinder and really get back to your clients. So it's pretty amazing. I tell my clients, before you actually get back into your car to drive off to the next open house, you're going to be seeing meaningful active searches from me on a regular basis. But just going ahead and setting them up on the search is one thing. Being able to have a methodology of following up with those clients on a regular basis and saying, hey, did you see the price reduction that I just sent you on PropertyMinder? So I don't send anything to any client without reviewing it myself as well simultaneously. So it's really a nice thing. So as I send something out to you, I'm reviewing it through my iPad or my Apple computer or my iPhone to basically say, hey, I'm aware of this recent price reduction, and it wouldn't happen if I didn't have PropertyMinder. With the buyers, it's the same situation that I just explained, with the open houses. Being able to have a meaningful search where I can sit down with both husband and wife, and it really is meaningful because husband and wife, I need to bring part of my job, as I said, family therapist sometimes. There's a lot of sometimes as the husband is wanting to hold back a little bit and the wife's got grandiose ideas of where they're at, and my job is to bridge that gap and bring them together. So from a PropertyMinder perspective, specifically working with buyers, I can go ahead and have both husband and wife on my coordinated search. and the wife might be at home, the husband's at work, and they can go ahead and collaborate on the information that I'm sending them, and I get a sense of cohesiveness amongst the husband and wife team, and then coordinate the communication back to them to say, hey, let's go look at these 5 homes, and let's go ahead, and I might be sending you 47 homes, and I know that's too many. However, go through the process of deleting the ones that aren't necessary, and then pinging back to me which homes should we go ahead and target, and send me the email back. So they say, Joe, I'd like to see this appointment. They click on that button. I get sent that email right away. Then I immediately go and said, consolidate the 5 homes we're going to go see, go make the appointments with all the listing agents, and then go ahead and get husband and wife, in the car at the same time, and we'll go see homes together in the lunch hour. So that's, once again, it's really a very cohesive package to be able to follow up with my clients on a regular basis. And that shows them that I'm on top of my game as well. And at the same time, too, I'm helping them to come together on certain issues as well. One of the biggest issues for me is providing internet exposure. And I do some pretty elaborate virtual tours for my listings. I try to get them out to about 300 different websites. And then, so during my listing presentation, I actually specifically talk about I'm getting 2.5 million hits on a regular basis from my Facebook advertising. I'm getting 4.6 million hits right now with my virtual tour advertising, which is part of PropertyMinder. And then I specifically go into PropertyMinder and show them how many hits that I'm getting specifically to my listings and to my web page and so forth. So what I'll do, and the reason why I bring up Facebook is because I'll do a Facebook advertisement specifically to my Piazza Advantage website, which is PropertyMinder. And so from that standpoint, it's a coordinated effort. And so I'm working with my listing presentation, I can sit down with my clients and say, hey, it's one thing to be present during open houses, but the internet provides an altogether different world out there. So if I can go ahead and take a new listing, put it into 43 languages, and expose it to as many possible internet websites in as many countries as possible, what I'm doing is providing a better opportunity for my listing clients to get the most amount of viewers. So it's a numbers game. So PropertyMinder specifically, and then tied into other social networks such as Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter and so forth, all goes ahead and helps me to capture the potential number of buyers specifically for my listings. And it's meaningful to my clients. And potentially if I bring them more buyers and more hits, ultimately the sales price on that listing is going to potentially go up. I like speed. I like the content of it. I like the flexibility to be dynamic. I like the ability to send messages to my network. Like I said, if I'm sitting here, I have my own network of friends, family, and clients that are normally a part of it. But I also have additional new networks that I work with all the time during open houses. So being able to communicate, happy 4th of July, or be able to come in and say, here's our, we just coming into November, here's the recap of our third quarter sales statistics for the selling year of 2012. It's meaningful, and being able to communicate like that on a regular basis. And my clients are it's funny sometimes is that I'll be with them at a 49er game or a Giants World Series game or something, and they say, oh, Piazza just sent me another email. I'm still having a beer with them and watching the game at the same time. Yeah. So from that standpoint, PropertyMinder is always working for me on a 24-hour basis. And it even though it's not me pushing that data to them, I have an infrastructure and a system that I've listened to what their needs are, and I've implemented a program into PropertyMinder that sends it out for them. So basically, it frees me up. It frees me up from having to do every single search from every single person that's out there on a one-case basis. And now my clients are constantly informed, and I feel like I've got their back. I've got them covered. And then once we get it to a point where it's 5 or 6 different homes, once we've filtered out all the other homes that are not pertinent, then the analysis and the analytics and everything else comes into play, where it takes a lot more research. And a lot of that research is done on the MLS, and a lot of that research is done through PropertyMinder as well. So it's a combination of both. And I mentor a lot of new agents that come into this quite a bit. And a lot of agents come to me and they say, Joe, what are you using? And I says, what I've been using is what I've been using from the very beginning is PropertyMinder. And I really mean it. My first year in real estate, my gross commissions were over $500,000, and they've been growing consistently 12% every year since then. And I really do feel that PropertyMinder and my income go hand in hand. If I did not have PropertyMinder, my income wouldn't be what it is right now because of these tools that I've been speaking about. And so when I sit down with agents, I talk to them about it right away. We all, whether you work for Coldwell Banker or Lon Pinal or Antero or whatever other wonderful real estate companies are out, these real estate companies all provide our generic corporate advertising. But if you're really wanting to be an effective real estate agent, in my opinion, you really need to have your own customized website that's specifically for you, that's dynamic, something you can customize, something you can work with your own clients to differentiate yourself amongst all the thousands of other great real estate agents there are out there. And I tell agents all the time, you're crazy if you don't use PropertyMinder. And sometimes agents take the path of least resistance. And sometimes I wish I could, shake them, but from the beginning and say, listen to me, it really is an important tool and a part of your business, and utilize that tool. Because if you don't utilize that tool and you make that change 2 years down the road, you're so far behind from what other good real estate agents are really doing. And so that would be my biggest suggestion. And I try to refer people as best as I possibly can to PropertyMinder, and that's the way it goes. The hard part is that I wasn't having problems before because I was new and I studied it, like I said before, and I listened to what all the different products were out there, and I immediately went with PropertyMinder 12 years ago, and I'm still with them. So the real big issue is when there is a problem is to be able to call and to speak to somebody locally as opposed to somebody back east or India or something like that. To be able to speak to somebody locally and then they immediately walk me through the problems or the issues is phenomenal. Sometimes at first, once you get used to using the systems and downloading pictures that might be too big graphically and so forth for the system, and certain idiosyncrasies like that, to be able to call a local number and have some of your tech support guys say, okay, Joe, thanks, we got the picture, we'll shrink it down for you, we'll upload it for you, here's the scoop on it, it's fantastic. And then at the same time too, you're just going ahead and calling them, but they're proactive back to me by saying, hey, have you thought about this new tool here? Have you thought about this new tool here? We just did an upgrade here, you really should be incorporating that. Well, tell me more about it. And then they work with me. So not only am I calling into them and they're being receptive to my needs, but also you're making very good suggestions back to make my business more successful. And so I'm fully utilizing the tools of PropertyMinder.
Any final thoughts? Or
no, I would just say from a new agent's perspective, or even an existing agent that's going out there, like I said, and using your own company's internet structure. Part of our job is, from a listing agent's perspective or just an agent in general, is how do I differentiate my one listing at $2 million located in Los Gatos from every other $2 million home located in Los Gatos, Palo Alto, Los Altos, Saratoga, you name it. Same thing goes with me, so I have to differentiate myself. I have to differentiate how that house looks. I have to have the best virtual tour. I have to have the best flyer. I have to be present. I have to have disclosures ready to go. And the point that I'm trying to make is when you're going ahead and meeting people for the first time, when I meet somebody and says, oh, Joe, I know you're at Starbucks or something, and I know you're in real estate, without me having to talk about myself, it's so much easier to say, go to my website, Piazza Advantage, learn a little bit about my value proposition, learn how I work with buyers and sellers, and it's so much nicer not having me to talk about myself specifically, which becomes boring, when I can just refer people to PropertyMinder and have them a chance to know me a little bit, and then they warm up to that, and then they come back and talk to me as well. So the point that I'm trying to make to new agents is differentiate yourself. Stop talking about yourself, differentiate yourself, and have a really compelling website that you're proud of. And what I would also say is it's a tragedy to just buy PropertyMinder and to pay the fees if you're not going to use to get involved with it. And it's constant. You constantly have to change. You constantly have to update the profiles. You constantly have to update your listings. You have to think about, if you sell one home, go ahead and make sure you put that as your feature listings, because people want to see that. People want to see the kind of homes that you're selling. So what it does is it takes interaction from the agent to get involved. And once an agent really gets involved with PropertyMinder, like I do on a daily basis, I'm literally on my website 6 times a day, just tweaking it, looking at it, evaluating it, have my friends, family evaluate it also, so it's objective. Then you really have something compelling that you're really proud of. And then I go ahead and advertise my listing. At the same time, I advertise my PropertyMinder website. And it goes hand in hand. And what that does is branding. And when you're branding yourself and you're branding your homes, then I think as agents we become more successful.